Anything that happened within the last 12 to 24 months is going to be a triggering event that probably needs attention paid to it. So there are a variety of enemies to the corporation that cause problems. And turnover is really expensive. That's one of the main factors that we look at because it speaks volumes about what's going on in the organization. And what a lot of people don't really understand is that when you turn over a position and then you have to replace that person, it's going to cost you up to 2 times that person's annual salary. So just think of hypothetically, somebody's earning $100,000 a year, you know, think of having to maybe spend a couple $100,000 just to recruit a replacement. I mean, what company can really afford that? So what's really more important is to keep your people there. One of the programs that I do is about training and how we have organizations where we foster cultures of learning, because like Henry Ford said, the only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Devastating to your organization because they're not progressing. But when you have well-trained people and people that love you that do happen to leave, they are your best advertisement. So what is one of the ways that we can really remedy these problems? And what I have done among the several different programs that I have, and you can go to my website. In fact, I'll just tell you it's super easy. It's just stephanieangelo.com. Super simple. Um, Go to my website and you can see the different programs that I have. But one of my main ones is surrounding a training tool that I invented, and it's the company culture board game. And that is this. So this is a gamified training. I don't know if you can see it on camera, guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, a gamified training. There's a spotlight right on it. Sorry about that. Where this game enables organizations to really get that conversation flowing. So what you can see first of all from the box is it's a very, very inclusive look to it because that's the value system that I espouse is equality, acceptance, and having people of all walks of life in the organization. Not all companies feel that way, but that's me. In this game, we have 2 decks of cards, and I'm just going to show you this really quickly. We have the hourly non-exempt deck and the salaried exempt deck. Now, what you'll see in the instructions, though, are that if you have different categories of people, remote workers, non-remote workers, outside sales and admin, whatever the categories you have, you can call these decks those categories, if you will. But what happens in these decks is you've got um, the same amount of cards in the salary deck as you do the hourly because they've got all the same, plus a lot of cards that pertain particularly the salaried people because of their responsibilities. So people roll the dice and randomly get what they're going to be, whether it's salaried, exempt, or hourly. And you see that on the board?
Mhm.
So it's every other position is either, let me see if I can do this backwards, salaried or not salaried. I can't read my own board because I'm behind it. But it's kind of like the game of sorry. You draw a card and it tells you whether you're going forwards or backwards, what's based on what's on the card. So let's just read something random. This is a green card, which means you're going to go forward. And it says, this company values religious differences, move forward 6 spaces. Pretty good. You also have cards that are, let me find a red one in here. This deck obviously needs to be shuffled. Okay. So this is a red card, meaning something you're going to have to go backwards. And it says this company does not have strategies in place to prevent employee burnout. Move back 3 spaces. So we have things that go forward and backward, might even put you in jail or in court. And what's so wonderful about the design of this company is it's very, very safe. It encourages the executive levels down to the employees to talk about what they see in the cards. Can't talk about every card because you'll be there for a week. But the things that really elicit some sort of idea or spark a thought of, yeah, this happens in our company, or this doesn't happen in our company. Maybe it should. These kinds of conversations come out because of the randomness of what you are based on your pawn. The execs are sometimes the hourly people are execs, and this is what we want. So we want people to laugh at what's happening in the game, but not laughing at what somebody does to one another. Who here has played the game of Sorry? Raise your hand. So, you know, in the game of Sorry, if you want to make somebody go home, like if you want to, my husband does this, he's vicious when he plays the game. He'll send me home all the time. In this game, that doesn't happen. It's the cards that do everything. At the end of the gameplay, when people have talked about the things that whatever, can't think the word. They write these things down on a big flip chart, and then we create initiatives. These are for the organization. They can be anything from a new policy or a procedure to an employee event, to a community event, a whole breadth of things, 3 to 5 things that they come with as goals for the organization. And I have seen wonderful things happen as a result. I have seen employees very happy with the organization because they were able to talk about the value differences that they may have with management and the disconnect that might be there. I had one executive say to an employee, "Well, that doesn't happen in our company," based on something in a card. And the employee said, "Well, yeah, it does." And then they had a great conversation that needed to happen. One of my clients told me that her client base, because of the initiatives they created as a result of this, increased by 30%. Think of what that does to your business bottom line. So that's why it's such a wonderful training tool. And this is one of the main things that I do my workshops with. I have a lot of organizations that have me come in. I speak at conferences, but it really solves a lot of those leadership problems of what do we do with our employees? How do we get them to talk to us? How do we find out how they're feeling? Or for the employee, they can say, we really need something that's going to get leadership to talk with us, to hear us. Can we find out if we're on the same playing field when it comes to our values? I want to open up the floor for just a couple minutes to see if you've got questions about this, but I also want to give you um, the the game itself has its own website, and what I'm going to do for you today is if you want to purchase any number of games or the bonus decks that go with it, that's the website. And if you put the code LEADER, the coupon code LEADER, when you're checking out, you're going to get 50% off. But this is only good till Saturday. So I just want you to know that. But you can use it as often as you want. Not on the same purchase, but on additional purchases. Tell me what questions you have, because we have, I think, about 3-4 minutes left.
Yes.
Okay, you let me know when my time is up. Okay, somebody
We'll
says,
go to
the actual game. I use one for leadership training called the Leadership Game. It's from, yes, I'm familiar with that. I haven't seen the game itself, but I've heard about it. And that's Stacy. Where are you? There you are. Hi, Stacy. Are you John Maxwell certified?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know about that game until I invented mine. It's so funny because I know a lot of John Maxwell certified people that have mentioned it to me, but I've never seen it. But I don't think that it's available for sale unless you go to
No,
his
it is not.
program.
You cannot even find it on the black market. And I can tell you that because I tried. Because you have to level up, you have to pay. The game ultimately cost me $2,500. So when people sit at the table and play it, I say, no food, no drinks, no nothing. Don't breathe on the cards, please, because I can't replace the game. And
Well,
I'm serious. I'm serious about it. But I love that you created this game because I can see when I use the leadership game that it just opens people up and they wind up answering questions that they would never have thought of and seeing things from other people's point of view. And I love that you made your own game. It's really
thank
cool.
you so much. I really appreciate that. Every single card comes from my own experience in my 30 plus years in human resources. So these are all real things. And even I modified it. I've created the game. I got the first prototype the same week as COVID shut down. So that basically took me out of commission for a good couple of years. But remote workers weren't really in our forefront until COVID. I mean, I did a lot of remote presentations, but I added a lot of remote cards because of COVID. Also, because of COVID, this game can be played digitally. Digitally.
Mhm.
That one I do have to do myself, but I've had people all over the world. So we've got somebody here from Cameroon, Nigeria. I've had people from Egypt, Germany, Canada, and across the United States all playing at the same time. Some were in their pajamas having their morning tea, others were getting ready for bed, but we all played together. So I appreciate that. And what the game also has in it, Stacy, are instructions on how you can modify things based on your organization and your usage, but I can also make custom cards for companies. So let's say you're in construction, or I've had municipal workers, municipal clerks. We made custom cards for them, a limited number of custom cards. So great questions. Thank you for bringing that up.
Kevin has a question.
Kevin, hi. From
Hey,
Maryland, right?
yeah, from Maryland. Yeah, so I'm just curious about the implementation of the game. So, like, when is it used? How often is it used? What's like the recycling of it? Yeah, how does all that work, like within an organization?
Oh, awesome. Okay. In fact, what I'm going to do is I can upload like it'll be when somebody else is talking and I apologize, but I'll get a document I'll upload into the chat that has a list of 18 different ideas of when you can use this game. So 18 different types of like all hands meetings, employee events, team meetings, things of that nature. So it's applicable to a lot of scenarios. I personally recommend that a company does this game either within a division or multiple divisions, however they deem necessary, but at least once a year because things will change. You might have a management change. You might have an employee that has left or new people added to the team. And this way you refresh the conversation and can create new goals. So that's a great question. Thank you for that.
Joanne has a question.
Joanne. Hi, Joanne.
Hello, hello. I was just wondering, I could see how this is very valuable for corporation, absolutely. But as entrepreneurs, now I've moved from the corporate to my own business. How do you see it used in that respect? Because I know a lot of people are having troubles with VAs, and when you're an entrepreneur, you hire people. So how would you see it be useful there?
Are you saying for when you consult with clients, or how can I answer that question better for you?
Right, right. So as an entrepreneur, you're running your own business, right? You don't have a corporate. You're not, with managers and different levels, right? You either have a VA to do your thing, a marketing person, a salesperson, maybe. So it's small teams or small
Mhm.
team. So I'm just curious to see how that would apply.
I think in the same way. For example, if you had the game and you had your people together to play the game with them, I think would be very beneficial. With your VA and so forth, are you saying that these people are remote, so you're not in the same physical space?
Correct. Everything's
Gotcha.
remote. Yeah.
So if that's the case, what I would do with you is I would run the workshop with the digital version. But that's not available to everybody. I do have to run that one because what we do is we start on Zoom, but then I transfer everybody to there's a gaming site that houses the game because the way the technology operates. So I have to kind of operate everything. But that can be done. So we can have that conversation.
Mhm. All
Yeah,
right.
it's a
Sounds
great
good.
question.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next speaker, and I would like that to be Kevin, please.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for leading things off, Stephanie.
Thank you.
So my name is Kevin Strauss, like Levi Strauss, no relation, or Johann Strauss, no relation. So I got to do this all on my own. So my formal background or my formal education is biomedical engineering. And years ago, I was working at an organization and we were mainly designing implants for spine surgery. I actually have a whole bunch if you want like oh, it doesn't show up, like a show and tell. But these are spinal implants. And we were working on a problem and just really, really struggling. And I had a very long commute for this company. It was like 75 minutes each way for driving. And one morning I was driving in and I was thinking about this problem that we were working on. And I was working through a whole solution. I'm like, oh my God, I got it figured out. Because we've been working on this for like a couple of weeks. I was like, I've got it. And I was working through the whole thing and all the design and everything. And I got to the office and and I didn't even like put my lunch in the refrigerator. I just started drawing on the whiteboard and I told my designer, Larry, who is actually older than me, less formally educated than me, but reported to me. I was his boss. And I'm like, Larry, I got to show you this. I figured out the problem. And I spend like 10 minutes drawing this whole diagram on the whiteboard. And he looks at it and he's like, okay, okay. But what about that right there? I don't see how that works. And I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't work. This whole thing doesn't work. I erased the entire whiteboard because he just pointed out my obvious blunder, and we just went about our day and did our job. And that to me is just a clear sign of a real relationship, a truly respectful, loving, caring, collaborative relationship. My employee had no trouble pointing out my utter blunder. And this is why relationships are so critically important. It's a bit of what Stephanie was talking about. Actually, we kind of overlap here. Um, Relationships are so, so critical. And to me, that's what our emotional health is really rooted in. So there's a lot of different wellness formulas, wellness wheels out there. But for me, I've landed on what I call the formula for wellness. So I think of wellness like the four tires on a car. There's the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And I know a lot of times emotional falls under mental, but I think we're doing a real disservice by grouping those two. Because while I have the intellectual ability to do something, I might not have the motivation or drive or desire to do it because what's going on in the workplace, how our relationships are. With my designer Larry, our relationships are really good. So even though there's a big blunder, he can point it out and we can still move forward. But if we're in relationships where it's like, oh, you stupid idiot, why did you do that? You're so dumb. Well, why would I even try again? And it reminds me of another story. Well, first, it reminds me of a quote from Steve Jobs, who said, don't hire an expert and then tell them what to do. So I was at a company, a different company, years later, where it was a startup and I was hired as an expert in spinal implants. And the CEO and the COO had no experience in orthopedic implants, and they hired me to lead their innovation and product development. But as soon as I got there, they started telling me what to do. I had the full mental, intellectual capacity to do my job, but they wouldn't let me do it. They kept telling me how to do it. I'm the one with the experience. I'm the expert. That's why they hired me. The fastest way to demoralize an employee and destroy company culture is by not listening to your employees and telling them what to do when you don't know better. And that's what they did. And that company actually ended up having a 50% turnover rate in less than 18 months, including me. So it just goes to show how critically important our emotional health is. And back to the tire analogy on the car, we spend so much time in the wellness world focusing on fitness and nutrition, but the reality is you can't just inflate one tire and expect that car to run well. But that's what we're doing with the physical health. And meanwhile, if you look at the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics data, 97% of US employees are working their 40 hours every week. we don't have a physical health problem. Yes, I know people have, ailments and illnesses and things, but that's not really what's stopping us from doing our job. When 97% of people are going to work each day, the bigger problem is absenteeism. I'm sorry, presenteeism, which is people go to work, but they don't really work. They have the intellectual ability, the mental health to do the work, but they don't want to do the work. They disengage because they're demoralized. They don't feel valued. They don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. Kind of like what Stephanie's game was talking about, helping each side feel more heard. So similar with just inflating one tire, the car doesn't run well. If just one tire is flat, how does that car run? It doesn't. And that's where we are with emotional health. We rarely ever put any air into the emotional health tire. And you just can't operate a car or a person that way. And I define emotional health as our ability to give and receive love, connection, and belonging. If we don't know and understand each other, if we don't feel heard and understood and valued, then we don't think we matter. And if we don't think we matter, then we don't feel valuable. And if we don't feel valuable, we don't feel loved. And love is a basic human need. I hope it's obvious that I'm not talking about romantic love. That's about, this much of love in our universe. It's all of our friendship and coworker and familial love, love for our fellow human beings on this planet. That's the love I'm talking about. And if you don't know and understand each other, if you don't feel heard and understood, you don't feel loved. And that causes pain. And a human will do anything to ease their pain, even hurt themselves or hurt others. We drink and use drugs to numb and distract our pain. We use sports and Netflix and stuff to distract. We use food to numb and soothe. We use all manner of behaviors to try and ease our pain. And there's only two kinds of pain, physical and emotional. There's no such thing as mental pain. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, and I've yet to identify mental pain. So emotional pain is real. And when you're getting regularly shamed or judged or degraded or neglected at work or at home or in your community or in your country, it hurts. And you'll do anything to ease that. So what's the real solution here? It's strengthening relationships. We have to intentionally nurture our relationships. I'm not talking about socializing. That's easy. We can talk about the latest sports or the weather. I'm talking about really feeling heard and understood. So, as an inventor, I invented an app called Uchi. And Uchi is a social app, not a social platform, not a social media, because that's all public. But Uchi is a social app that is proven to strengthen relationships simply by answering questions about yourself, sharing your perspective, your opinion on fun, easy, insightful questions. It's not trying to learn your deep, dark secrets. It's just trying to get to know you as a person and hear and learn about someone else. And the more we know and understand each other, the closer and more connected we feel, and the happier we are. And happy people do good things. So we engage, we invent, we're more productive, we make less mistakes, we don't complain as much, culture improves, health improves, like physical health improves with connection. And actually, and I won't go into all this data, but connection and emotional health and relationships is actually far more important. It completely trumps physical health, like fitness or nutrition, in terms of overall health, wellness, happiness, and longevity. That's the hard data. So we might put effort into fitness, but if you really want to live longer, happier, healthier lives, you've got to nurture your relationships on a day-to-day basis. And that's what Uchi does. It's as simple as answering questions and reading the answers of people that you're connected with on Uchi. And you only have access to the people you're connected with. And it's all invite only. So you can only read your Uchi friends' answers, and you can only read their answer if you've already answered that question first. So you can think of it like 24/7 team building. Answer a question here, answer a question there, whenever you've got time. Uchi is a free app. You can download it right now on the App Store and Google Play. But if you want to use it in your own organization, or I forget who was asking about, I think Joanne was asking about remote workers and small teams, you can use Uchi and you can pay a small fee and you can come up with your own questions for your team. It's an asynchronous activity. You answer questions whenever you've got time, you read answers whenever you've got time, and the only thing that shows up in your Uchi feed are the answers and comments from people you're connected with. There's nothing else in your feed. There's no ads, there's no sponsors, there's no influencers. You cannot even search for another person on the app. That's how private it is. You have to know their email address in order to invite them, or if they invite you, you accept their invitation. So by strengthening our relationships and nurturing and supporting our emotional health on a day-to-day basis, then we're happier and our behaviors improve, and then everything in your organization or your family improves right along with it.
Wow, that's awesome. Does anybody have questions?
Yeah, I'm open to questions, comments. We've worked with schools, we've worked with universities, we've worked with courts, we work with businesses, we work government agencies, families. It's been in over 40 countries. It's just easy and fun.
I love the privacy aspect that you built into that. I think that's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, privacy is very, very top of our priority list. Yeah, you only have access to the people you're connected with. That's it. And you can't even search for someone. So, you can say goodbye to cyberbullying and trolls and predators because you're choosing if you're going to connect with someone. And if they're doing something that you don't like, boom, just delete that connection and all their stuff is not available to you anymore.
Mm,
So that's why schools and government agencies trust us, because privacy is so high.
yeah. Awesome.
But I'm sort of imagining families, when you have this little
Mhm.
thing that doesn't, you're flushing people and then you say, whoops, I shouldn't have done that, but then you could have them back on, right? I imagine it's not permanent. Is that right?
I mean, you can always reestablish a connection with someone and then, begin communicating again through the app. You can always talk to that person offline, and, ask them, hey, what was going on there? I'm not really sure what you were getting at. Of course, you can comment and ask them what's going on. But what's really interesting about Uchi is how it's guided communication, because everything starts with a question. And what we find is that when a person is posed with a question, they typically answer it straight away. Unless you're a politician, that's a whole nother story. But when you're posed with a question like, what's the first thing you like to do when you get to work each day? Well, if I know that you like to get a cup of coffee and read your email, then I know, okay, don't bother Joanne for the first half hour. But if I know that you like to get a cup of coffee and say hello to everybody, then I can come up and ask you a question or engage with you. Same idea. Even when it's remote, it doesn't matter if it's, in person or virtual. Not to bother that person, or you can, engage with them that first part of the day if you know that about them.
Mhm.
That's good. Thank you.
So my understanding is it's a tool to help develop relationships in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone gets to share their perspective, their opinion. There's no right or wrong answer. Uchi's always open-ended questions. And it's not a poll, it's not a survey, it's not therapy. It's just trying to get to know each other as people. And the more we know and understand each other, the more we're going to collaborate and listen and negotiate and work together toward this common goal. In the home, like Joanne was talking about, in families, it's amazing what people are willing to write, because it's only the written word. There's no pictures, no video, no audio, no like button, no heart button. It's only the written word. And it's amazing what people are willing to share in writing versus speaking. And it's funny, there's so much emphasis, especially through COVID, on in-person and face-to-face interaction and verbal. And like that's the only way to connect, but that's a myth. That's completely not true because we have 2,500 years of data showing that two people can have a profoundly deep connection just from writing letters.
Awesome.
True. I have
Right?
another quick question, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
I just came to my a thought that Facebook groups, let's say, for example, I'm in the Confidence on Camera, and I have a Facebook group, and those people, it's hard to get them to interact and to, you know, get comfortable. So this, I guess, would be a different way of looking at it, where people could really connect. Let's say
Yes.
if you have 200 people, am I correct?
It's very different than a Facebook group. Facebook groups are unguided and they can have hundreds
Right.
or thousands of people, and generally only a handful of people are really engaging and everyone else is just lurking, right? And it could just be anyone, and you're just trying to follow a thread in conversation can be so difficult. But on Uchi, if you made your own Uchi tribe, that's the fee-based side of it. If you made your own Uchi tribe, only the leader pays to create a tribe. Everyone who you invite, it's free for them to join if you invite them. But when you have an Uchi tribe, you can only have up to 10 people and 10 questions. And remember, you can only read someone's answer if you've already answered that question. So you have to contribute in order to consume, which is the opposite of social media. So you really engage, and it's guided because it's the questions that the leader came up with. Or the free side of Uchi, where we have our whole database of questions and you can just, answer whatever you want. But that rule still applies. And when you're in an Uchi tribe, you can be in lots of different Uchi tribes. You can lead as many as you want. You can be a member as many as you want. And those are all little independent groups. So they don't overlap ever. Again, back to the privacy that Stephanie had highlighted. So
And what's the
nothing
size?
overlaps.
Yeah, and what's the size of the groups again? Did you say 10
So
people?
for an Uchi tribe, we limit it to 10 people. So the leader can invite up to 9 other people, and 10 questions. And let me tell you, when you've got 10 people and 10 questions and everybody's answering and commenting, it is so much engagement and so much activity. Even that is almost overwhelming.
Okay.
So, but what you can do is you can have a group of 10 people and just have 2 or 3 questions. There's an Uchi tribe, right? And in Uchi tribes typically last about 1 to 2 weeks before everybody's had a chance to do their activities. And then the leader can make another Uchi tribe with the same people, but different questions. So you just keep turning it over again and again. Like a classroom, we do allow classes to go up to 30 people because you might want the whole class. A teacher is the tribe leader, but you might have 30, students. But again, you'd only have a handful of questions, 3 or 4 questions, and the teacher has to answer those questions also. And when it comes to school and learning, we know the most important thing in education is not the books, it's not the curriculum, it's not, having the chalkboard, it's the teacher-student relationship. That's the most important. And oh, by the way, I'll just finish it off with that the whole relationship and how important relationship is. Back to that first story where Larry, my designer, pointed out my total blunder. We had so much love and connection on our team and in our company that at that organization, I ended up earning more than 75 patents that turned into dozens and dozens and dozens of globally marketed products that saved tens of thousands of lives, that generated billions of dollars in revenue. So when you're really connecting and nurturing relationships, everything raises up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate your presentation. We're going to invite Dr. Michelle Clark to speak next.
All right. Thank you so much. And definitely thank you, Stephanie and Kevin. Wonderful presentations. I'm so glad you called me third. Three is actually my number. I was born the third day, the third month, and I'm the third child. So,
Um,
and so I love it. So, and I did not request it. So thanks so much for that, Alicia, for even inviting me to this executive roundtable. Very, very informative thus far. And so I'm super excited to be one of the presenters. So thank you again for that. So welcome everybody. Just for those of you who may not know me, my name is Dr. Michelle D. Clark, and I'm just really a small town girl with big time dreams who God has definitely shown his grace and his mercy. He saved me from some life-threatening things. And some of those things I'm going to talk to you about it today. But not just as a survivor, but also in leadership and advocate and mentor. So do have multiple degrees, psychology, social work, and a PhD in entrepreneurship and business administration. But the one that I profoundly talk about the most, that I guess I boast about, is really the PhD that I got from the School of Hard Knocks. And so I want to talk to you guys today about resilience, and not just in the face of breast cancer, which is one of those life-threatening things that God has saved me from, but also in life-defining moments that make us just force us to look in the mirror and ask who we are. So today we're going to talk about thriving beyond the mirror, the transformative power of survivors in leadership. So I wanted to kind of keep that question in the back of our minds of who am I now? Who am I now? So, just to give you guys a little bit of background about myself, when I talk about some of the challenges that I've experienced, it really starts back even when I was a teenager. And you're like, oh my goodness, is she going to psychoanalyze now and talk about, no, we're going to go, no, I'm not going to have you guys sit in a chair right on the couch and go that far, right? But I do want to share just a little bit about myself, and then I'll make it relevant to all of us. But I did struggle with some body image challenges as a teenager. I was teased a lot because I had smaller breasts. And years later, I experienced some, we call them complex traumas, including two strokes, stage two breast cancer, and a mini stroke. And I was told that if I wanted to live, that I had to have a mastectomy of my left breast. Well, it kind of brought back triggers from the childhood, from when I was having those challenges, which nowadays we would probably call it being bullied, where I was teased profusely about the size of my breast. And so I already knew that I wanted to have breast reconstruction when I was told that I not only did I have breast cancer, but I had to have the mastectomy. And so it took me almost 10 years up and down to finish that process. And just to be fully transparent with you, I even had another revision surgery as recent as January of this year. So I was diagnosed in 2015. In 2016, had the mastectomy and went through all sorts of ups and downs, including having a quote unquote snatched surgery. I call it that. When I went into the hospital in 2023 and they told me that I had COVID. Unfortunately, it was a false positive, but they didn't know that at the time. And they told me I had to leave, and I was distraught. But from that, I was able to learn a lot it was 5 months before I was able to get back in, because unfortunately I ended up actually contracting COVID when they had rescheduled it. And so then the third time was a charm, and I did have that surgery. But in those moments, I would look at myself in the mirror and see what saw like a incomplete science project is what I kind of called myself at that time. And it was very difficult and frustrating. But in that waiting, I found my purpose and my passion, that was working with breast cancer survivors. And so I want to share with you all that the mirror doesn't tell the whole story. It only reflects what's on the surface. It doesn't reflect the battles that we fought, the lessons that we learned, or the resilience that we've gained. So I do want to ask you all, what are the mirrors that's maybe holding you back in your life? So what are some stories that you may need to rewrite? You see, survivors, we make powerful leaders because we're resilient in our superpower. So I want to take a quick pause for station identification. And I want to ask you guys, raise your hand if you are a survivor. Now, let me say this. Everybody's hand should have gone up. I'm not talking about breast cancer. If you woke up this morning and your eyes popped open, guess what? You're a survivor, right? If you've had any kind of loss in your family, or any kind of grief, or any kind of setbacks that set you up for a comeback, guess what? You are a survivor. So I want to ask that question again. Who are all the survivors in this room? Absolutely. Yes. Each and every person's hand should raise, because each and every one of us have been through something where life has knocked us down. It's not if, it's when. We've all experienced something, big, tall, small, and all, right? And because of that, we can draw from it, and that now can become our superpower. So when I stepped into advocacy, y'all, I thought that I had to be polished and perfect and put together, but the truth is that my superpower, my strength, came from sharing my scars, both physical and emotional. So resilient leaders, we don't inspire through perfection. we inspire through connection. So I'm loving it. Kevin, when you and Stephanie were talking about connectedness, I'm like, okay, I see a theme that's happening here today, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So I challenge you, how can you use your struggles? How can we all use our struggles? Not just our triumphs, but our struggles to lead with empathy and strength. So to truly thrive beyond the mirror, we must learn the power of leading generously. And that starts with self generosity. So giving ourselves grace to heal, giving ourselves grace to and space to grow, to give ourselves permission to dream again as leaders. So once I learned to pour into myself first, it's funny, I was watching a movie yesterday on Netflix, and in there they had some turbulence, and then the masks came down. And I thought about that just now as I was speaking, and that we have to put our mask on first. I was a part of an anthology, and it actually was a chapter in the book that I had. It was called Putting Your Mask On First. Because we have to pour into ourselves. You can't pour from an empty cup. I believe I heard John C. Maxwell say that as well. I think we had somebody on here was Maxwell certified. And so the real leadership, that's where it begins, pouring into ourselves. We share our stories, and we don't just heal ourselves, we now can empower others through our story. So just think about the adversities that we've experienced. How can we create that ripple effect? How can we now uplift someone else because of some of the hardships that we may have experienced? And traditional leadership tells us we have to fit this mold. But survivors, all of us in this room, we're people who've overcome something, whether it's illness, loss, personal setback. That's what leadership is. Being able to break those molds, being able to redefine beauty. That's the vision of my company, Lift After Breast Cancer. And it's redefining beauty. And that's meant by embracing the scars that society tells us that sees as flaws, but they're not. Claiming them as our strength. So for you, redefining leadership might mean leading with authenticity instead of perfection. It might also be owning your own story instead of hiding behind the struggles and hiding the struggles. Creating spaces where other people can be empowered instead of just chasing titles. I loved it when Kevin talked about, being able to share between him and employees, and not having that culture where people don't feel open to share and be able to feel comfortable to make mistakes. We're human, right? So we should be able to make those mistakes and learn from it and grow from it. So we don't have to wait for someone to give us permission to lead. We can step into our superpowers right now. So before I end this talk, I want to talk about three guiding principles, things that can help us to thrive beyond the mirror in leadership. One, and that is resilience redefines leadership. So our strength is not about avoiding those hardships. It's not about hiding them either, but it's about growing through them. Because once we learn from it, then now we can reach back and help somebody else. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Kevin said none of his patents were ever perfect on the first try. It's all about making mistakes. Absolutely. There is a cleaner called 409. Do you know how it got its name? Because 408 times they quote unquote failed. It was the 409th time that it worked. Talk about resilience, right? So absolutely. So the next one I want to talk about. So the first guiding principle was resilience redefines leadership. The second one is the power of authenticity. What Kevin just showed, he was being authentic and was able to share. Hey, you know what? It didn't work on the first try. Being able to share his story. Stephanie, being able to share a story. All of us on here now being able to share our stories and leading from it and not in spite of it. When people say, "Oh, Michelle, Dr. Michelle, you're so dynamic and you're this and you're that." Oh, despite of going through all the things you've been through. And I say, no, 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 no. It's not despite of those things. It's because of those things. It's because of those things. So one, resilience redefines leadership. Two, the power of authenticity. And number three, community amplifies impact. Kevin talked about a community, right? So having that community. And Stephanie talked about being able to use her game in a community, in different communities, right? So the most powerful lessons and the most powerful leaders, excuse me, lift others as we climb. I believe it was John C. Maxwell said that if you don't have anybody following you and you call yourself a leader, you're not a leader, you're actually just taking a walk. Right? So being able to foster and empower others and not just leading other leaders, but leading leaders who create leaders. So each one, reach one, teach one. So who can we empower today? So as we reflect on these takeaways, I want to share a free resource. So hold on one second. I'm going to open this up and put it in the chat. Give me 2.5 seconds here. So, all right. So it should be in the chat now. And it is the Self-Rediscovery Blueprint. 5 simple steps to reclaim your confidence and purpose after life's setbacks. Because again, it's not if, it's when. Life is going to life. Things are going to come at us. So all you need to do to receive this free blueprint is to text the word blueprint, your name and your email to 586-685-7474. And it's in the chat. So everyone should be able to see that. Because you know what?
Is the number in the chat, Michelle, Dr. Michelle?
It's not in there. It should be. Let me see.
The number.
It's all in there. Yep. It should be all in there.
It's
Okay.
there. I see it.
Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you,
Okay.
Stephanie. Yep.
All right.
Alicia, do you see it?
No, I don't know what's going on with my it's probably
Elisa, it's
system.
blue. It's not black font. So it's possible that blue is not showing up for you.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is let's do this really quickly because it'll only take me 2.5, 866-685-7474. Bada boom, bada bing. Oh,
Okay,
it's still
got
coming
it.
up as a blue hyperlink,
Great.
but okay.
Great.
All
I
right, cool beans.
appreciate that.
Awesome. So no worries, no worries. And somebody else may have had that challenge. So glad that you voiced that. And again, fostering a room that you've done, Alicia, you've done an excellent job of fostering this community where we're able to share and say, hey, I don't see it yet, right? So our journey doesn't end with survival. It begins with thriving, right? So it might be a bookend, but it's definitely not the end of our journey. So I want to thank you all so much, first of all, for allowing me to share my story and allow for me to share how we can, as leaders, how we can thrive beyond the mirror. Because again, the mirror only shows what's on the surface. There's so much more to us. So let's walk forward together. Let's lead generously, thrive boldly, and let's continue what LIFT stands for: live inspired, free, and transform. Thank you all so much. God bless. Any questions? Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Dr. Michelle. Anybody have questions? I'm texting your blueprint now.
But maybe just a comment.
Sure.
I know for myself, when you talk about, what we've gone through, I built my business now that I have online based on an experience that I had coming out of the corporate world and trying to do my own business. It was something that was really, I found very different. Social media was like, stay away. I don't want nothing to do with it. So anyway, it's either that I would have, quit and just moved and did something else, but no, my resilience and my determination to make myself work with it is now helping others, because I was able to put it together and put a program together and whatever. So it's a value that if I would have kept that to myself, sure, it would have been helping me, but it's helping others as well. So I just wanted to add that to the power of using our experiences can be very valuable for others.
Absolutely. And I actually got a shiver while you were speaking, Joanne. It's very much so important for us to utilize what we have experienced. And we don't have to go into all of the gory in order to tell somebody about the glory, but we do have to go into some of that so that they can hear the story, right? Because a lot of times we shine and we talk about, oh, how we've triumphed. But people need to see a little bit, at least like I just saw a picture of Wizard of Oz and pulling back the curtain, right? They need to see behind the curtain a little bit so they can understand, listen, I don't have to live in perfection in order to lead, with connection. So thank you so much for sharing that, because it is up for us, each and every one of us, the things that we go through. People say, why does this have to happen to me? It's not happening to you. It's happening for you so it can go through you. You can reach back now and help somebody else who is on their journey, who may be feeling downtrodden, beaten up, smacked down by life's circumstances. But now they see the resilience that we have and how we were able to get back up and try again and fight harder and fight back and bounce back and come back, all those backs, right? And now thrive. And they say, you know what? If you can do it, I can do it. And that's the best gift that we can give to someone, is sharing what we've been through so that they can be uplifted. So thank you so much, Joanna, for sharing that.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Michelle. Now I just lost it. Sharing, role modeling our failures. I think this is one of the greatest problem. Well, there's a lot of challenges for parents. Um, it's like parents and teachers think they have to be perfect. So then kids and students think they have to be perfect. And then when they're not perfect, because nobody's perfect, then this creates so much stress and anxiety and depression. That's where it's coming from. This whole like idea that you have to be perfect. But if we role model more a failure, because I think we've all had enough failures in our lives and challenges in our lives, and then we try again, and then that fails. Then we try again, and then that fails. And if it really matters to us, we'll try again, and then that fails. But if it really matters to you at your core, your purpose to part of this blueprint you're talking about, to me, purpose is really what nurtures our spiritual health. And I know there's a lot of definitions, but if you if you're so if you're doing something that really matters to you at your core, your essence, your soul, the spirit of you, what matters to you, then that's going to nurture your spiritual health. And it doesn't have anything to do with God or religion or anything. It's all about what matters to you. And when you are motivated, because we are highly motivated from what matters to us, then we will try again and go through the failures. And oh, by the way, if serving God or Jesus or whatever, if that's what matters to you at your core, then that's great. Go do that. And that nurtures your spiritual health. But you can have lots of different purposes in life. And that's that fourth tire on the car. But it's okay to fail. And I think we really have to model that more for our kids, for our teams at work, right? The CEO doesn't know everything. The boss doesn't know everything. And back to Stephanie's talk about retention and everything. I mean, we know from the data that 75% of people leave their job because of their boss or management. And I'm telling you, it's not because their boss is 50 pounds overweight. That's not why they quit. It's not because their boss or management isn't eating enough vegetables or didn't get 10,000 steps that day. It's because their boss isn't valuing, they don't feel valued and connected to their boss or their management or their company. Anyway, I'm just trying to build on what you're saying, but it all resonates with me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Kevin, because it's so, so true. Being a licensed mental health therapist as well as executive coach, knowing that and when for the license, well, me working in social work, I was a clinical mental health therapist for children, family, and youth. So it's so, so important when we talk about those mistakes. And the first thing I thought about, Kevin, we were talking about is if we look at the word success in a dictionary, what comes before success? The word failure. So you have to get through failure in order to get to success, right? You have to. So if we were to make sure that we let our children know from the beginning, right? Because adults, you have to go through childhood first, right? And we learn a lot of our habits, we learn a lot of our strategies, we learn a lot of our values and morals and principles as children. And so we need to instill in our children that it's okay to make a mistake and you're lovable even because of your mistakes, because of your mistakes, you're still lovable, not in spite of them.
Right.
And,
But
and
that's not how we're raising our kids.
we are
We're
not
raising them
all the
in
way.
conditional love, right?
We are,
Like,
and it should be
oh,
agape.
Michelle went in the potty. She's a good girl. She gets a lollipop. Oh,
Yes,
Kevin, he's a bad boy. He didn't go in the potty. He went in his pants. He's bad. He doesn't get a lollipop. That's conditional love. And
yes,
that
it is.
causes emotional pain. And then you throw tantrums and so on to try to ease your pain.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we are so on
And
the same page.
we're so here. So I'm loving this conversation. If you guys would like to continue the conversation, you do have a way that you can reach me. And my website is my name. It's Michelle's one L. You don't need two L's when one does the same. So it's www.michelledclark.com. And I would love for you guys to check it out and you can reach me there. And I don't know how much time we have left, but I encourage us to continue these types of conversations so that way we understand how we can now move forward and thrive and absolutely live inspired, free, and transformed. Yes, and I'm also on LinkedIn as well, so I'll put that in the chat. Thank you all so much.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Michelle. That was beautiful. Our last speaker, but not least, is Kim DiGiacomo.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate it. Is there a way, can you have me, I want to share my screen if that's
Oh,
possible. So
sure.
if we can do
Okay.
that, that would be great. Well, I'm happy to be here. Alicia, thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, all the presentations have been amazing so far. And a lot of the stuff that you guys were saying resonated with me because, we do get knocked down. We do have challenges in front of us. And the best thing that we can do is pick ourselves up and move forward. And that's the way you become successful. So just a little bit about my background is that I was in corporate America for 25 years. And I got tired of that, getting laid off, not meaning my work not mattering. Not that not even a word, is it? My work, I can't even talk. My work, anything I did didn't matter, but making money for another company, right? For the company. And when it was time to downsize, they had no problems after I worked there for 20 years to say goodbye. So I went into a completely different field, went into the insurance industry, worked for Aflac. You guys heard about Aflac. I have two kids. I went through a terrible divorce, basically had to start my life all over again, um, be able to support myself, take care of my family, and put my kids through college and you name it. And that was, for me, it was extremely frightening, right? But being an independent person, being faced with that challenge, I had to adapt and change my life to be able to take care of myself and create a future for my family. And to do that, I found it to be challenging, right? I was in the insurance industry. I did that for a very long time. And over the years, my company evolved, and I did different things. And then COVID hit, and good part of my business got shut down. I was working in nursing homes, so you can tell that that was again a challenge because we couldn't go in and do any benefits or anything like that. Um, again, I was faced with another challenge to be able to turn my business into something else where it became profitable again, and I was again moving in the right direction. So over the years, I've decided that I wanted to put together an organization that only help people financially, but in every aspect of their life, right? So I wanted to evolve just not from the insurance industry, but to also put together a program or a suite of services that would help an individual in their life, financially, emotionally, wellness, you name it, to be able to live a life where they didn't have all these stresses. I can tell you from my own experience that the stress that I used to live with and deal with, it was overwhelming. And there were times where I would say to myself, like, I just can't do this anymore. As a single parent and having an ex who literally did nothing and everything was left on my shoulders, it was challenging at times. But you know what? If anything that you do in life, it's hard to get to, right? Anything that's worth having in life, you got to fight for it, right? And I spent my life, that's what I do, right? I find and do different things in my life that help me overcome these challenges. So I put together, I'm going to share this presentation. Let me just put this together. So what we did was have an organization where I call it Safe Money Solutions because it's a way of protecting what we work so hard to achieve in life, right? And money is not everything in this world, as we heard on these conversations. That's not important, right? It's the important thing is your family and the things that matter in life. But we also want to be secure in the fact that we know as time goes by that we have the money to be able to retire and live the life that we want to live. And you know, this with COVID, it's changed all our lives. The cost of everything. We're all dealing with higher food costs, higher gas, higher. You go out to dinner, it costs over $100 just to go out to dinner. I mean, I cook every night because I can't stand ordering out and spending $70 on takeout to have dinner that I could have made myself, right? So I found solutions out there to help people not only cut down on their monthly costs, but protect what they've worked so hard to build, right? And we're facing challenges in every aspect of our lives, like I was saying. And one of those big challenges happens to be healthcare. We all know as self-employed individuals, there are many challenges that we face when we're not working for a large corporation. I remember back when I was working for Nabisco at the time. I was paying $100 for my insurance on a monthly basis, right? For my whole family. Now that's unheard of, right? I have clients that are paying you know, upwards from $2,000 to $3,000 a month for health insurance because they're self-employed. So, and that's a mortgage payment, right? People cannot afford that. So we found solutions. So what I've done is I put a bunch of solutions together to help people financially, help them grow their wealth, help them live better lives, help them with their wellness, make sure they have, the necessary coverage for their health insurance, things like that to protect their family. This all ties in together, right? So what we offer is kind of solutions, coaching solutions to, you know, expert guidance on financial security. We help you protect and grow your wealth, and we have a customized financial coaching for individuals and business owners. And one of my passions was, I grew up in a family that all had their own businesses. My father was a mason. My grandfather owned a hardware store. We had contractors. We had, you name it, tile guys, and they all had their own business. And I know how small business owners struggle on a daily basis, right? Because we're struggling with the cost of services, the cost of goods, the cost of, running a business, taxes, health insurance, you name it. We're all facing these challenges. So what we wanted to do, and Alicia reached out to me yesterday to put put something together for you guys to show you the services that we have available that can help you guys really kind of minimize your out-of-pocket expenses, right? And one of these great plans that I found, and you guys probably see this if you have health insurance, you probably see this has become more popular now, is like telemedicine. So telemedicine is when you can call a doctor 24/7, be able to get access to a physician without paying your deductible, without paying a copay. There's no call, there's no fee per call, things like that. So it's just a better way to be able to, unless you're having some major illness, to be able to just call a doctor, get a prescription, and not have to go to an office, right? And Call a Doc is a great program that we ran across that has not only the telemedicine, but gives counseling for mental health. If you have um, diabetes, they help you with nutrition and getting supplies, things like that. So it's a whole package of being able to help you with certain areas of getting medical attention and medical help. And I can tell you for one that I've used this many times and it's a godsend. I can tell you if I don't feel well, the last thing I want to do is go out to a doctor's office and sit there for 2 hours and have to pay, my copay or pay. I didn't reach my deductible, so I got to pay $100 or whatever it is. When I can do it from the comfort of my own home and get a prescription called into my pharmacy, and this gets done within a half hour. So, there are a lot of things that are tied into this that can really truly help you if you have high deductible plans, things like that. Because a lot of companies now, and I can tell you what I've experienced, is that a lot of companies are switching to high deductible plans because the businesses can't afford to offer it either. And, let's be honest, the healthcare system in this country is broken. It truly is. And we're paying more for insurance and getting less coverage. So being able to add additional programs that can help offset some of those costs at minimal cost is a huge benefit. We have discount dental and vision plans. We help people get affordable dental plans. Dental insurance is probably one of the worst insurances out there. You get $1,000 a year coverage, sometimes two if you're lucky, and that's one root canal or one crown, and that's gone and then some. Right. So we work with MetLife, and we have a nationwide network of providers. We have estate planning services, which we help people with wills and trusts. Most people, and it's amazing to me how many people do not have a will in place or do not know that they need a will, trust as well, in order to protect. A will is great, but you need that trust to be able to protect your assets as well. So it's asset protection strategies, peace of mind for your individual and families. I can tell you from my own experience, when my dad passed away, he didn't have a will. So we had to go through probate. We had to go through, a whole mess of steps to be able to get that settled and taken care of. And it cost us a lot of money. So being prepared for the future is not only just financially, but protecting those assets, protecting what you have, protecting your family from having to deal with unnecessary stresses during a time when they're dealing with a loss of a loved one. And this is the company that we utilize. It's Family Legacy Documents, and they help with the whole estate planning process. So these are all services that we use. We have affordable health plans. like impact health sharing. This has become extremely popular over time because, again, it goes back to the healthcare industry being broken, right? We're paying an astronomical amount of money for our insurance, and we're not really getting any coverage. And it doesn't really matter what deductible you have because you're never going to reach that deductible unless you have a major illness. So having a plan where you can actually get the coverage you need. And what's great about this is that they'll actually negotiate bills for you. So if you have a bill that you got sent and something wasn't covered, they'll actually negotiate that bill for you and get it down to next to nothing. And I've seen it. I'll give you an example. One of the gentlemen that I worked with, he had a guy that went in, he had a stroke. He had $100,000 bill from the hospital, and they got that down to $5,000. So that's a big difference, right? So these hospitals overcharge because they know they're going to get what they're going to get for the insurance company, or they know they're not going to get that full amount. So they charge the full amount, they charge an astronomical amount of money, and they know they're going to get negotiated down. So these are things that people don't realize that are available to them that they can utilize to be able to help them, when they really need it. So, this is just, you can get an individual plan for as low as $73 a month. And for family, it could be $378 a month, depending on, the family members. It's comprehensive coverage. You have telemedicine 24/7. You have all the same things that a medical coverage has, but at a fraction of the cost. Now, if you're paying $2,000 a month and now you go down to 700, think about that. It's a huge savings, right? And you could take that money and put it into a savings account or into an HSA so that if something does happen to you down the road, now you have now you have money that's set aside specifically for that to be able to utilize when you need it, right? I don't know about you guys, but I would rather have my money in my pocket than giving it to an insurance company, right? Because it's just basically like throwing your money away on a month, every month to the insurance company because a good percentage of people don't even use their insurance. They use it for preventative, which covered at 100%. So it doesn't matter what plan you have. So it's great to be able to have a plan that you're not paying a lot of money and you're able to keep more of those hard-earned dollars in your pocket. And I can tell you with an HSA, that money can be used year after year after year. When we talk about health insurance, it's like car insurance, right? You have to have it, but it's in case of. So your insurance is not, you're going to keep paying for it in case you have an accident. And you're going to keep paying for your health insurance in case you have a major illness that you really need it for, right? So there are many programs out there where you can supplement your insurance, pay less for, get a high deductible plan, pay less for it, and then put these little plans in that can help you offset those costs if something does happen down the road. And this all comes down to cost reduction services. And we do this for businesses, for personal expense analysis. We help lower operational costs. We maximize financial efficiency. And what's nice about that is that, and I'm sure by show of hands, most people don't really look at what they're paying their bills for. A lot of people, you pay your phone bill month after month, you pay your electric bill, you pay your, cable, your internet, whatever it may be. And you just kind of keep paying that. And you don't really sometimes don't sit down and take a look at it and say, listen, I'm kind of overpaying for that. Let me call them up and see if I can lower that. I can't tell you how many times when I was with Optimum, I had to call them to lower my bill because every time I turned around, they were raising my bill. And at one point, it was over $200 just for cable and the internet. And then I found other alternate plans out there that were able to reduce my costs by, saving myself $200-300 a month. That's a big deal for some people, right? To be able to keep money that why should we be paying extra for something when we don't need to? And this is the same for business owners. And I found this across the board, and especially with self-employed, small business owners. We're so engaged and worried about making money. We're focused on making money. We're focused on the profit, the bottom line. But at the end of the month, when we pay all our bills, we're scratching our head. We're like, well, where'd all my money go? I don't understand. I work so hard. I put all these clients in, but I don't have that much money at the end of the month, right? So we can show you some just little tips and tricks that can help you kind of take a look at where your money's going and help you do an analysis and help you better understand, how to lower those costs. And again, at the end of the day, being able to do that makes a huge difference, right? And as a single parent, every time I can save money, I'll take that chance. I'll take that opportunity. Um, and why choose our package, right? It's comprehensive coverage of essential services. We have cost-effective bundled pricing, convenience of a single monthly payment, and expert support and personalized service solutions. So the reason why Alicia wanted me to, bring this up today is to be able to help you guys in any way we can, and I can to, grow your business, help you, with your cost management, help you with your financial um well-being. And we started working, and I can tell you, I started working with a company and the company is Safe Money Solutions, where we help people. We do an analysis. It's a free analysis where we help you take a look at all your expenses, your mortgages, your credit cards, your insurances, your um, loans, personal loans, car loans, you name it. We put it into a system, and it's an algorithm that will calculate how long it would take you based on what you're doing currently, how long it's going to take you to pay off that debt. If you have a house, and you have a 30-year mortgage, and you have 25 years left to pay on it, we can show you how much interest you're paying on that mortgage. So what's happened over time is that we've become prisoners to the bank, right? I read a book, it's called How Money Works, and there's a big lollipop on the front. And I was intrigued by it. I said, let me read this book. I want to understand, you know, um, what they're talking about. And when you go to the bank, they have lollipops. Why do they give you a lollipop when you go to the bank? Because they call you a sucker for putting your money in the bank. Because what they're doing is not only they're taking your money and they're loaning your money out 6 or 7 times, and they're giving you 0.5% or a percentage. So basically, they're making money on your money. So we want to show you there's a different way. We want to show you how to do what the banks do. We want to show you how to make money on your own money, how to utilize what you have and make your dollar work twice as hard as opposed to always being on the defense. So depending on the amount of debt, sometimes you have to make $3 or $4 just to pay off $1 of debt. That's reality. In a mortgage, you see your mortgage statement. How much goes to principal and how much goes towards interest? It's like you look at it, you want to get sick, honestly, because you're like, it takes 17 years before you even start paying 50% towards the principal of that mortgage. Think about it, 17 years. By the time I was like, oh, my percentage was, I got 2.5% or I have 3.5% on my mortgage. But in reality, when you really take a good hard look at it, it's like 240%, right? Because the amount of interest that you're paying is ridiculous, right? If you buy a $200,000 house, by the time you're done, it's almost 400,000. If you have a credit card that's 25% and you're just paying the minimum, you're never paying that off. You're just literally lighting your money on fire and throwing it out the door. That's exactly what you're doing, right? So we can show you there's a better way. There is a better way to be able to get these debts paid off. We're showing people how to pay their mortgages off in a quarter of the time, saving thousands and thousands of dollars of interest. We just had a client we worked on the other day. We saved him $307,000 of interest over time and got his mortgage paid off in 8 years, right? It's just being able to look differently at your finances, being able to do things differently than what we're brought to do. We grew up and grew up in an era where you had life insurance, you put your money in a 401k and that was it. And then if you had a pension, you were lucky, right? As self-employed people, we don't have a pension. I don't have a pension. We don't have a pension. So we have to figure out creative ways to be able to grow our retirement in a way where we're not losing money. In a 401k, I can tell you, I have a friend who had money in the market, lost $40,000 in a month. Okay, just like that, gone, right? And that's what happens. So 401ks, same thing. It's a roller coaster ride, up and down, up and down, up and down. We can show you better ways of having safe money solutions where you're protecting your money, but also getting double-digit returns. So what I can say to you guys is, we're going to offer you the ability to be able to get free coaching, have access to Colodoc, get free financial wellness coaching. I'll be happy to talk to anyone in regard to, showing you there's a better way of how to manage and create that future that you want. Because I know for me, and I don't know about you guys, but I intend to retire in the next couple years and travel and do the things that I want to do. So I'm going to work as hard as I can now to be able to get to that point. And what this all comes down to is being able to utilize things that we don't even know are available that can really and truly help us. And like a lot of people on this call said, we all have challenges in life, but if there's things out there that can make it easier for us, I, for one, am happy to take a look at that and um, see how that could, benefit me and my family. So that's what I got for you guys. This is still kind of preliminary. So, um, Alicia told me to put this together last night, so I was kind of like putting it together. So it was kind of like a last minute thing. So I was typing it yesterday, and I'm like, all right, this looks good. Let me throw this in. So I didn't really, kind of put it together in a way that I want, but you guys will hear more about it as the time goes by. And again, I'm here as a tool for you guys to be able to give you some resources and different ways of looking at what you got going on in your world, and to kind of help you in any way I can. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer questions you might have. And I know I talk fast. That's the way I am. I talk very fast, so I apologize. I've been told that many times. But yeah,
Dr. Michelle has a question for you, Kim.
I'm Michelle.
Hey, how are
Hi,
you,
Dr.
Kim?
Michelle.
That's okay. How are you? How are you? And first of all, very, very wonderful presentation, especially since you said you just put it together last night, but I'm sure you know it like the back of your hand. And I wouldn't tell anybody in the future that you just put it together because it was very
Okay.
well put together.
Okay,
No one
thank
would
you.
know the difference. Absolutely phenomenal. So I do have a couple of questions, of course, being a breast cancer survivor. And one of the things I put in the chat and talking fast, I love it because I listen fast.
Good.
So um I don't recall hearing about pre-existing
Existing?
conditions. Yes,
Yep.
pre-existing conditions, because obviously being a breast cancer survivor, I want to be able to share this with other survivors, any kind of ailments, and make sure that this is something that they still can qualify for.
So that's the one downside to Impact Health, is that would be considered a pre-existing condition, and they don't cover pre-existing conditions, right? So, but on the other hand, they can still get Impact Health aside from the breast cancer. But if there are bills that they have from that pertains to that, they'll still negotiate it for them. They'll still negotiate the bills for them. So which is nice, right?
Yes, it is
So,
that
you know,
matters.
what?
I said, yes, that matters because a lot of times people, when we're going through treatments, you don't feel well. You're not trying to be on the
That's right.
phone for hours trying to go back and forth and keeping your stress up and
That's
then
right.
your health down. So
Mhm.
being able to have somebody negotiate on your behalf, that really piqued my
I
curiosity.
mean, it's huge. It's huge. Let me tell you. And they really, I mean, I've seen stories where they have negotiated down to basically nothing, right? And I think that's just as important as, the coverage itself, because, you know, let's be honest, they're overcharging. I mean, I got to tell you guys a story too, which my mom had gone to the dentist, and the dentist kept sending me bills because they take advantage of the elderly. Because I do Medicare, I do Medicaid, I do the New Jersey, I do every health insurance out there. I do voluntary benefits, critical illness plans, things like that. So the dentist sends a bill for $810. I'm like, $810? She has dental coverage through her Medicare, right? So I call them up and they're like, I go, you have to submit this to insurance. And they kept telling me, oh, we submitted it. They denied it. We submitted it. They denied it. I'm like, no. So, knowing what I know, I call them up. I say, hey, did you guys get this claim from the dentist? They're like, no, we haven't gotten a claim since 2023. So now now the hair's on fire, and I'm like, okay, now what's going on? So I call them up and they're like, no, we submit. I go, oh no, you didn't. I said, because somebody's lying to me, you or them. So one of you guys are lying to me, and I'm believe that the insurance isn't. So I think you guys are, right? So I will just submit the claim myself. But the sad part about it is they prey on the elderly, right? Because they'll send them a bill and the elderly will just pay it because they don't know. They're like, oh, I gotta owe this, or they're not gonna pay my insurance or whatever. And that's what happens. So they rely on that. So this is the shitty stuff that goes on in the insurance industry. So having someone to advocate for you, and like you said, with, people in your situation, that's golden. That's worth more than anything, is to be able to help with that. And like you said, the last thing they want to do is be like, oh, like I don't want to call somebody and negotiate my bill. I don't want to do that and go back and forth with these people. So Yeah, so I truly understand where you're coming from.
Thank you so much, Kim. I wanted to
You're
announce
welcome.
to the group, the reason why I had Kim come in is because through Make a Difference Consulting, I wanted to have a resource that we can share information about health, about life challenges, and have it such as that is a membership part of Make a Difference Consulting, and we're offering it to the public as a resource to come to have the coaching on different financial issues. So that's why I asked him to put it together. Sorry about it being last minute, but I
I
would
don't care. I'm good.
I
It's
see
all
the
good.
value of it. She and I,
Yeah.
Kim and I are part of another podcast team, and I love her presentations. That's the number one reason why I wanted her to be here today. So thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now that we've had wonderful speakers, I appreciate each and every one of them. It's almost 1:30, and I did want to spend some time talking about organizational excellence. Does anyone need to go, or do you have time to stay in here on organizational excellence?
I'm supposed to be in another meeting now at 1, but I want to hear what you have to say because you were so gracious in allowing us to speak. So who would I
Yeah.
be to just speak and run? And that's not nothing again, that was not against the folks who had to leave. Obviously, if they had to go, they had to go. But I'm just saying
Right.
for me personally, I want to stay in here.
Okay. Thanks. I'll be quick then. Okay. Just yeah. Slideshow. Let me begin. Okay, so my presentation is called Organizational Excellence to Brain-Based Leadership. And okay, so the issues that many organizations are facing today is lack of engagement, workplace instability, just overall feeling of being detached and being having their staff have high turnover for one reason or another. My perspective on work situation is that an organization has to have cohesion, it has to have an opportunity to serve the front line as well as the executive suite. Yes, we have hierarchy, but at the same time, open communication needs to be there. And so what I'm diving into today is called the 5 pillars of organizational excellence, which is neuroleadership, neuromanagement, authentic appreciation, workplace forgiveness, and organizational trust. So the key concepts, neuroleadership is the ability to have strategic information and brain-friendly strategies to motivate your team. Neuromanagement is neuroscience to optimize management practices, create that environment where teams' performance and adaptability can be have productivity, what I call it, with a smile, lessening the stress and increasing innovative opportunities. Authentic appreciation. For me, I like this one because, not that I don't like the others, but authentic appreciation, it means that you're acknowledging your staff or your circle of influence on a day-by-day basis. It's not just, okay, it's January 5th, let's have a party to recognize people. No, it's 365 being able to say, hey, Dr. Michelle, what you did yesterday for the team was so remarkable. The customer's happy, and it increased our branding in the eyes of the customer. Being specific and being helping, no matter who it is, from frontline to executive suite, understand what they do for the organization is important. Workplace forgiveness. There are 6 different opportunities to communicate forgiveness in a workplace relationship. You don't want to tear down the person, and you don't want workplace instability. You want to express, hey, we're all humans. We do make mistakes. Don't need to be written up for this. Let's just forgive it and move on. And the last one, which is the cornerstone, is organizational excellence of organizational excellence, is organizational trust. Creating an environment where trust is foundational, and it is the substrate of every relationship in the workplace. Okay. Normally, I would show that to have someone use me as a resource and schedule an appointment with me to discuss how it can apply to their organization. So, looking at organizational trust, neuro leadership, authentic appreciation, workplace forgiveness, and trust all synergize in a way that bolsters organizational excellence. And without trust, you don't have a work environment that everyone can thrive in. It's about transparency and recognizing the mission and vision of the organization and helping people to realize their skills are wanted in the organization. So Johansson and Zach 2021 did a research which found out that the higher income and longer longevity of employees are found in organizations that have a higher percentage of organizational trust. Yes, it's a way to bring things together and create that cohesion, but it's more than that. It's to create a safety in the environment where people can communicate freely. Just to read it on the bottom, it's a culture with strong organizational trust isn't just nice to have, it's a competitive advantage, boosting both the company's bottom line and the well-being of its employees. And that's crucial. Okay, so authentic appreciation and neuroscience, according to Dr. Gary Chapman and Dr. Paul White, it is focusing on neuroleadership, and it provides verbal and non-verbal behaviors to create a united and inclusive environment. Okay, so using the ask principle, we want to ask ourselves as leaders, are we missing out on the secret sauce that could transform the leadership game? Stephanie has a great game that helps to create that leadership development, and I like it. Even Kevin's Uchi, definitely helps to take a look at our leaders' leadership skills and help them to develop and help them to think about what is the frontline employees experiencing and communicate it well, even with the executive team. So we want to seek to understand what is really missing and how to show empathy, how to create that excitement and that productivity that will boost and the connection in the work environment, along with helping us develop that relationship in the workplace. Okay, and the last one of the ask principle is knock on opportunities doors to create that empathy, that connection and trust in the workplace, work environments. Okay, authentic appreciation. There are 5 modalities. The first one is words of affirmation. 46% of the population has this as their primary or secondary work appreciation language. And so I'm going to go over the appreciation languages briefly to help you understand what authentic appreciation language is about. Quality time is the second. And I want to say 26% of work professionals have this as an appreciation language. It is being able to connect well and develop the relationship in the workplace. Acts of service is a third, and it's about 22% of the population has this. And it's just being able to come together and know that there's a deadline that's approaching on somebody's desk and saying, hey, I'm available. How can I help you? How can I do this the way you want it to get done? Let me help. And the fourth one is tangible gifts. Now, it doesn't need to be expensive, that gift, but it needs to be meaningful to the person who's receiving it. And the last one is physical touch. Less than 1% has this as a appreciation language. However, it is one of the most important ones because it encroaches on boundaries. We have to understand and appreciate one another in the workplace and respect boundaries. So physical touch is a good firm handshake. It is a pat in the back. It is a high five and a fist bump. And that's what's limited to when it comes to physical touch in the workplace. Workplace forgiveness is the fourth pillar of organizational trust. And we have forgiving after a performance. These are 6 areas of workplace forgiveness is most effective. Forgiving after a performance mistake, after a colleague argument, and not escalating it to incivility. Leaders' poor decisions, recognizing we're all humans. After a breach of trust, organizational changes, especially when the organizational change is not expected. So we have to practice the workplace forgiveness in that issue. And after feedback is poorly delivered. Okay, I just want to share with you that I am developing not only the roundtable, but executive coaching and the opportunity to have what we call the MBAI assessment to know your circle of influence and how best to effectively communicate and show appreciation, authentic appreciation to your team. And all right, so basically the executive group coaching will be focused on neuro leadership, neuro management, authentic appreciation, workplace forgiveness, and organizational trust. I know since we're solopreneurs that it may not be as in depth as working in a corporation, but to have organizational excellence be part of what you communicate to your circle of influence, whether it's the, I don't know, mailman or somebody you're dealing a contract with. exhibiting organizational excellence is always something that you want to do. So in my final words, I want to say that, being sensitive to organizational excellence and leading with our brains, managing with mindfulness, exhibiting authentic appreciation with a heart are all effective, especially even forgiveness and trust. So these things are critical in organizational excellence. Thank you for listening. Okay, there we go. Any questions?
I mean, I think it's amazing. Like you need to have that kind of in an organization. It's very important to have employees be happy, wanting to come to work. That's productivity. If somebody goes to work and they're miserable, they're going to do the least amount possible and get out of there by 5 o'clock. They're not going to put that extra effort in. So what you do is extremely important to business owners to be able to manage their employees where they're able to come to work and want to be there and want to participate and do all that. So, it's definitely something that needs to be, and I think we've lost that over time in the organizations where people just don't care anymore. And it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That transparency and trust are critical. Yes, we understand we have mission and vision in an organization, but who cares about that if you're not being respected and appreciated for the job they do?
I liked how close to the 5 love languages that was. I put that in the chat too, because I think you really need to give people the appreciation that is meaningful to them, because not everybody likes gifts, for example. It could make somebody feel really uncomfortable and they feel like, oh, now I have to reciprocate and I don't know how to get a gift. Other people really need words of affirmation, for example. So I think giving people what they need is really important. And I do love how in the workspace you were very careful about what you said about physical touch.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, that was right on the money.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. So I thank you all for being here today. This is really rewarding. I appreciate every one of you who spoke, Stephanie, Kevin, Dr. Michelle, and Kim. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Great to meet all of you.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, hope we connect on LinkedIn, and I'm here to answer questions as well. And Alicia, thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity.
Thank you.
And this was your first one, right?
Technically, yes.
So you nailed it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
I had one in January, but it was to select my board of advisors, and most of the people didn't understand what I was trying to achieve, even though that was what I was looking for. So that was actually, quote unquote, an advisory meeting, and this one is the first one. I took some time to get some training on how to run Eventbrite and Zoom at the same time. So.
Yeah, all of those things can be a little bit of a headache. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.